welcome back. Here we are, doing season 1, episode 5. Here's Looking at You. Fun episode, this one, I think.
This one. I liked this episode. I think it's charming.
It is.
Yes, we definitely see a softer side of Martin in this episode, and that's really nice because we know he's that tough, no nonsense ex-cop, but deep down he's got his struggles too.
Absolutely. So we start off with Frasier doing his radio show. He's on a call with Doug, who has an issue with his mother hanging around the house doing nothing. Frasier can't focus on the problem, though, because he has an issue with Doug's use of the word literally instead of figuratively. After Frasier shares with Roz that Doug's problem with his mother made Frasier think of Martin, who doesn't do much either. He asks Roz what her mother does. Turns out she's Attorney General of Wisconsin and has several hobbies. Frasier will have to keep thinking.
I love an active woman. I love a woman with a busy social calendar. That's what I aspire to be, is a woman with a busy social calendar. So
truly. And the other thing is just like it also gives us so much insight into how Roz is, who she is. We've gotten glimpses into the dynamic with her mother in the past, with her talking very candidly about her dating life. But this just adds a wonderful, wonderful new dimension to it.
Yeah, she's definitely got a lot of hobbies. I'm trying to remember what some of them were.
Archaeological digs.
Yeah, archaeological digs, water skiing, hikes, oil painting.
I do love a good hike. They're very good. They're fulfilling. They're telling me she's got friends. She likes to move around. She's like the template for like how to be a woman in her golden era. So thanks, Roz's mom.
I agree. I also love that she goes on archaeological digs. Like, that's not everybody's hobby.
I could be on that and they could say, oh, here's this. It could be a chicken bone. And I would still be surprised. I'd be like, ooh, wow. I wouldn't know the difference.
My mother-in-law is an avid hiker. She does a lot of hiking, camping. She travels the world quite a bit. So she's out and about quite a lot. A bit like Roz's mum.
Yes.
All right. A few days later, Martin's taking a nap with Eddie as Frasier and Daphne set up a telescope in the living room. Martin comes out and they surprise him with it. Martin's grateful for the gift and mentions some falcons that are nesting that he can now watch. Unimpressed, Frasier points out that you can see everything in the apartment building across from them. Martin is unconvinced at first, but is quickly won over. Daphne sets a rule that if anyone starts doing anything nasty, they'll move on, which Frasier and Martin reluctantly agree.
I love how Martin starts. Yeah, exactly. But like Martin's the one that starts it off like, perfectly innocent with the falcons, and then, everyone else takes it in the other direction.
I saw on the news there's a bunch of falcons nesting in the eaves of the Columbia Tower. Maybe I can watch them from here.
Dad, forget the falcons. You can see everything that's going on in that apartment building over there.
Hey, I've locked people up for that kind of behavior.
Oh, come on, it's perfectly innocent. Just think of it as having like 100 more channels to watch.
Immediately. I mean, they took it exactly where we would take it, which is let's be creepy, let's be a voyeur, and look into everybody's house or their apartment.
I mean, as Frasier says, there's a voyeur in all of us, which I think is true. We're all a bit curious.
So true. That is one of the reasons why I love Halloween so much, because you get to, for like a glimpse, quick, you get to see into someone's house. And you're like, ooh, what's this and what's that? Like, I love that. That's one of my favorite reasons to. Do they celebrate Halloween in Australia? Probably not, right?
It's starting to. It's starting to become a bit of a thing. Yes.
A bit of a thing.
Some people do the trick-or-treating and stuff, but when I was a kid, it was very much not a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I could never imagine a childhood without getting free candy
from
random people and looking into their houses.
And one of the things I aspired to as an adult was being the house with the full-size candy bars.
There's still time.
There is still time.
No, what I like doing is going to open houses. That's another way to peek into other people's lives.
Oh, yes.
Decorate.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to talk about that when Frasier, remember when he renovates the house and thinks like,
yes,
that's his house. Can't wait.
Martin spies a woman with a telescope waving back at them, and Frasier and Daphne try to hide further back in the living room. We learn that this is Irene as she starts writing messages to Martin. Delighted, Martin and Daphne start to write back. I like the bit where she's like, "Is that Dr. Crane hiding in the back?"
Oh,
Frasier's like, "It does not say that."
Wait, she's writing something else. Is that Dr. Crane from the radio hiding near the fire?
It does not say that. It does say that.
so funny because he's obviously so involved in his image, especially publicly. But then this time he's hiding. It's a great little contrast.
3 mornings later, Martin and Irene are still exchanging messages through the telescope, with Daphne on the floor writing up the notes. Frasier comments on Irene being Martin's girlfriend, and Martin denies it. Frasier insists, and to speed things up the process, gives Irene Martin's phone number. Martin insists that Irene won't call. When immediately the phone rings, Martin's suddenly shy, and Frasier answers the phone before passing it to Martin. Daphne and Frasier leave to the kitchen to give Martin some privacy. He's so bashful. He's very much like...
it's so adorable. It's adorable.
It's cute.
You also notice in this scene, it comes up in a bit later, but you can also notice that he is hiding his cane in this scene. He's got it put off right to the side.
Yeah.
He's got to stretch to get it. So the way he's got to really lean over to get it as well. He's not putting it somewhere that's convenient for him either.
Mm-hmm.
Intentional moves here.
In the kitchen, Frasier and Daphne comment on how much Martin seems to like Irene. Daphne notes that Martin refused a rich, gooey coffee cake that morning because women don't like a spare tire on a man. Frasier believes the telescope kindling this romance is kismet.
I like a little spare tire on a man. I think it's pleasant delight, particularly in the winter time. I know you don't experience winter in Australia, but where I'm from, we have winters, and you can use a spare tire. That's a good thing.
Good to know. We get maybe 3 weeks of cold weather.
Oh gosh,
and it's probably not cold compared to your winter.
No. And you know me and my fashion eye, and I do not like this robe. I don't like it. I've been very clear about the bouffant hair that Frasier is still rocking in that kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't match. I don't like the stripes. It's definitely giving me like he's getting ready to go on a, wrestling stage or boxing match or something. But yeah, I still love that kitchen though. Oh, I can just look at that kitchen. Yes. Love that kitchen.
No, I mean, let's be honest. I would move into, Frasier's apartment anytime.
Oh yeah.
Oh
definitely.
Yeah. It holds up. It's still as classy today as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
Very little odd change.
We'll talk about it next episode too.
Yes.
I think that would actually make a good bumper sticker or a tattoo. Classy today as I was back then. Like that explains me. Like, don't mind me now. I'm still classy. I'm just as classy today as I was back then.
Keeping it 90s classy.
That's right.
Yeah. So Martin enters and is a little cagey about his conversation. He confirms that Irene asked him out, but that he declined. He then spots the coffee cake and gets excited.
Little subtle punchline where it's basically like this, his really under the radar joke, and then he comes back to hit the punchline later. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Later at Cafe Nervosa, Niles is recounting a prank at the wine club played on the president. He asks Frasier if Martin and Irene are still playing telescope footsie. Yes. Frasier mentions they broke it off and how once they spoke, Martin claimed she wasn't his type. Frasier says he can't understand it.
I just don't understand what would make him do that.
Oh, who knows why anybody does anything.
Remind me again what you do for a living. You see, the thing is, it was just one phone call. I mean, how can anyone make a sound judgment about another person on the basis of one phone call?
Remind me again what it is you do for a living?
Niles suggests that they set Martin up with Maris's aunt Patrice. Frasier says Patrice is a loon. Martin begs, stating that Maris gets out of entertaining her aunt every visit, leaving Niles holding the bag, literally and figuratively. I love the callback to that joke.
Yeah, I also love that. Although, can we rewind 30 seconds? Okay, you both know my favorite episode of all time of this series is Wine Club. Is this a reference to the same wine club to which the Corkmaster shenanigans show up
In
later because
my Frasier universe, yes, I put it naturally as this is the club, and like, okay, I can't wait to get there. Like, this is it in my world. Definitely.
So I picked up on that, and I was just like, this is the same wine club.
Mm-hmm.
So when they refer to the president, what they're actually referring to is the corkmaster.
Yes, and there was drama from day one. So yes.
Yeah. But on Patrice, what?
Oh, yes.
What a bizarre single serving character.
Mm-hmm.
I love Patrice. Frasier still disagrees, and Niles says the least Frasier can do is say hello to Patrice. Frasier refuses to drive to Niles' house, but turns out Patrice is in the car with the window cracked. I love how she's just sitting in the car.
Puppy.
That night, Frasier is comforting Freddie on the phone, who had a nightmare. He says goodnight as Martin enters. Frasier and Daphne haven't given up with Irene and pretend to see her lonely in her apartment. Martin isn't fooled and insists that she just isn't his type. The doorbell rings and it's Niles with Aunt Patrice. Frasier was specifically not expecting them. Patrice makes a beeline to Martin, and Frasier, Niles, and Daphne head into the kitchen for refreshments. Frasier tells Niles off for bringing Patrice over, and Niles claims that he'd run out of places to take Patrice and was desperate. Frasier points out that Patrice isn't Martin's type, and Niles insists that opposites attract. Daphne disagrees, and Niles agrees with Daphne.
Always agrees with Daphne. That's not new.
I like how he just backs down. He's like, I think opposites attract, don't you, Daphne? Oh, no, I don't think so. Oh, you're so right. We're so alike. In the next episode particularly, he's very, very sort of lovelorn.
Indeed.
Just then, we hear some garbled speak from the living room, much to Niles' horror.
Can't leave Dad out there alone with her any longer.
I'm sure they're doing just fine.
Do-go-you-go, spiggy, jiggy, spiggy.
Oh, Lord, I was afraid of this.
What?
Do-go-you-go, spiggy, jiggy, spiggy.
Niles, I think she's having a stroke or something.
Turns out this is G-speak, a language that Patrice and Maris like to use at parties. Patrice continues to speak this way as everyone watches on in a horrified stupor. Frasier fakes a dinner they're about to leave for. Patrice goes to hug Martin, who steps back before she reaches him. I love G-speak.
Joe, I have to give it to the actors who plays Patrice.
Yes.
That had to take so much practice and talent.
I know.
Yes.
To be that annoying.
Definitely. Yes, but she was spot on. It was a great performance, and I think like it definitely showed her skills.
Yeah, she gets
as
it
an
sounding
actress.
so natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she just flows, and it's like I can't even do it, but I love it. I think it's hilarious.
I would be positively annoyed if someone did that in my presence in real life, but on the show it's so funny.
I know
It is. And I love Marty's expressions when he's like looking back and forth, like, please, somebody come get this crazy woman.
He's trying to work out whether he should be concerned or not.
Exactly.
Well, the other
okay?
thing is, the other note to this is a like an inside joke she has with Maris. And basically everything that we ever have heard or will hear about Maris is just bleh. So I do think it's kind of funny that we get this side of it. It's just like, of course.
Yeah, because you never actually figure Maris to be like a silly character because she's always so high strung. But you kind of have to be a little loony to speak G-speak at a party with your relative. So,
it just really hammers down how insane Patrice is as well.
Yes.
Because you have to be a bit insane to think this is a suitable thing to do to someone you've just met.
That this also speaks a little bit to one of two things, right? Either, since she does this often at parties, either no one tells her it's weird because of this, fear of social pushback, or she doesn't care.
Right.
One of those
exactly.
is true.
And I kind of like the idea of both. Like, maybe she doesn't care. And, we all have one relative that we invite them, but we really hope they don't show up to the party.
So poor Niles finally leaves with Patrice. Frasier points out that he noticed Martin back away when Patrice went to hug him. Not backing away from Patrice, but from the window, proving that Martin did still like Irene. Martin tries to deflect, but then admits that Irene's middle name was Rose, which Frasier puts together with the fact that Rose was Hester's middle name. Frasier reassures Martin that Hester's been gone for 6 years, and any feelings Martin has for Irene are separate to the feelings he had for his late wife, and that it's okay to get on with his life. Martin thanks Frasier and says he will when he's ready. Martin exits to the kitchen, where Daphne is busying herself in the fridge. She overheard the conversation and says she thought it was a lovely thing to say. She then points out that Irene's middle name is Marie. Martin denies this, and Daphne says she can check through their notes. When Martin says he lied to get Frasier off his back, he insists that Irene just isn't his type. Daphne asks if Martin is sure.
Well, yeah, this is Daphne being better at Frasier's job than Frasier is in this
Yeah.
episode.
Absolutely.
She's picking up on the reality of the situation so clearly, and no one else does.
She was also more involved with Martin's conversations with Irene because she's the one who is writing all the notes.
Right.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love how she, leads the characters to the right conclusion without really like being direct about it. I think that's a skill. I think that's a skill that some women have and some women don't. I actually personally am trying to do that more often instead of just being so direct. To be like, how can we, get them to kind of think my way without being so direct? And I might have to take some notes because Daphne does it well. She does it with Frasier when he's moping and and he's being extra, and she does it here well too. So, bravo, Daphne.
Yes, because Daphne noticed every time Martin was at the telescope, he was hiding his cane. Daphne attempts to reassure Martin that he has nothing to be self-conscious about. Martin says he puts the cane aside so he doesn't trip over it. Daphne understands, saying it must feel awful silly when the cane trips you up, before leaving Martin alone in the kitchen to ponder her words. I do like the way she finishes it by saying that, because it's got that double meaning.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And can I comment on her outfit?
Yes.
It's very 90s with the choker.
Mhm.
Like I thought of that movie Witchcraft. Remember when like witchy aesthetic was really popular in the 90s, like with the choker, like the Victorian. She's got the vest on that has kind of like that. I'm assuming that's like inspired by like English countryside. So it's cute how her character.
Fashion. Like she looks like a grown-up Blossom.
Yeah, exactly. But she also, I like what's nice about it is that she brings femininity to this space of men, and that's kind of pretty. Like her hair is, her hair is soft and it flows and it's messy, and I kind of like that she kind of brings that flexibility, that movement into their lives that maybe they didn't even realize they need. Because her clothes move. She's always moving. It's kind of like movement.
Good observation.
Thanks.
Well, we see that Daphne's words worked because later we see Frasier and Daphne in the living room excitedly waiting for Martin to finish getting ready, going out with Irene. Frasier says he's glad Martin changed his mind, and Martin thanks him again for his talk that afternoon. However, he shoots a look at Daphne, thanking her for their conversation. I do like how he sort of gives Frasier the credit openly, but he also thanks Daphne.
Yes. He's being a gentle dad. I think that's gentle parenting, and he did it pretty well.
Yeah.
Same level of ego that Frasier does.
Yeah. Gotta nurse Frasier's ego.
Oh.
Doorbell rings, it's Irene. Frasier and Martin are all frazzled as Daphne tells him to relax. She makes a joke about closing Irene's curtains and Martin opens the door. We then see the living room from Irene's point of view as she and Martin meet in person for the first time. I like how you don't actually meet Irene.
Yeah. But it's also like that thing we talked about in the beginning when we were exploring some of the, elements that make Frasier so great is perspective, where you they insert you and it's kind of like an immersive experience because you're kind of looking at it through a different perspective rather than on the characters. You're kind of like near them with, within their same, space. It's kind of cool. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, you don't see the living room from that angle very often either.
Right.
That's a nice little shift.
And I like how you could see Marty's body language if you took he you could see apprehension, like you could see, you can feel the excitement and the butterflies. I can, you could just kind of, see that being emoted, and I love that. I love that.
Mm. You can also see Frasier and Daphne's reaction as well. They're all sort of
Yeah,
almost like proud parents. Like,
yeah,
like
or
their
yeah,
son's
and
going on their
actually,
first
Daphne.
date. Yeah.
they
Like,
have like a little
ooh.
brother sister kind of
Yeah.
vibe. It was cute.
I like the relationship that Frasier and Daphne have. Like they never explore it in a romantic sense, which is really good.
Thankfully, yeah, which is
Yeah.
nice. It's a relief, because I mean it could have gone that way. Thankfully, it didn't, because then it allowed for a different type of relationship to blossom, which is I
Mm,
think another type of relationship that Frasier needed. I think he needs non-sexual female relationships.
exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
liked that he had that with Roz up until the point where they had to sleep together, but
Woo-hoo-hoo.
yeah.
And
But
John Mahoney, his acting, he's a talented actor. We see that here. We kind of see him really kind of moving around with that cane, and really you can tell he probably he practiced doing that for that role.
mhm.
You could tell that there's was work put into it.
Yeah, he does it so naturally that you forget that he doesn't
Yeah,
actually have a limp and doesn't need a cane.
right. It kind of becomes kind of like background to him when
Hmm.
you don't even notice it. And I guess it's
Embodiment.
probably what it's like dating someone with a disability, like I guess, or if they have like an equipment that they have to bring. I mean, like after a while, I guess you just don't even really notice it, right? Like a prosthetic
Mm.
or something.
All right. The end credits for the episode have later that night, Frasier and Daphne are asleep on the couch and Eddie's on a stool looking through a telescope. I do like how they've got Eddie on the stool looking through a
Cute. I
telescope.
wonder what he would look at.
Yes.
Maybe the Falcons.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's what he's looking at. Good circle back.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the episode. Good episode. I like this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Love Aunt Patrice. Love I love sort of the vulnerability we get from Martin.
Hmm. Yeah.
Daphne gets to share her words of wisdom.
Which were good. They were on point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We just get a lot of subtle character relationship development, but it's presented in such an organic way. I like this one.
Good season 1 episode.
Yes, and thank you to our listeners for joining us and sticking with us while we explore these episodes and kind of find our own voices through these
Absolutely.
episodes. Yeah, so thank you.
Tune in next time as we do episode 6, The Crucible.
this
Ooh,
was fun.
yeah. All right. See you
All
then.
right. See ya.
Bye.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Good night, Seattle. We love you.